Morning. My name is Beth Pappy, and I am the current chair of Unity Care. I was elected as the chair in 2023, so I'm into my second year. I'm a partner at Burke Williams and Sorensen, which is a law firm throughout California. And I've been involved with Unity Care since 1996. Even though you may not know who I am, I've been somewhere lurking in the background for all that time. And I was the organization's lawyer. Since then, I made the decision to jump from the top of my soapbox to actually my feet on the ground and getting involved. And I met with my dear friend Andre and said, how does one do that? How do you go about getting on a board? And he said, how about being on my board? And I was thrilled to get the invitation. Children, and especially children in foster youth, in general, kids that need our help, are a particular passion project of mine. I've had the incredible privilege to help in Unity Care's mission to end homelessness for young adults transitioning from foster care to independence, as a board member, and then as vice president, and now as chair. Of course, nobody can do this work alone, and I'm thrilled to introduce a few fellow board members. Well, actually one fellow board member this morning, and they are, that's Kelsey Young. Kelsey's in transit, so she's going to drive safely and join us when she can. But Tracy is new to our board, and we're thrilled to have her and her experience and her energy. We've got 3 or 4 new board members, which we're absolutely thrilled about, reinvigorating, energizing the board. We have Sherry Herbert, our director of finance. Well, I want to make sure I get it right. Director of finance, I said it right. And Larry Woodland, our interim CEO, has been an absolute asset to the firm. We have Andre Chapman, who almost needs no introduction, but our founder, and the reason why we all sit here today. And I see joining us is Sanders Trent, who's a name, Peggy, that you may remember from the past, and he's back leading vice president of programs and doing a fantastic job of it. This group of leaders that you see before us brings a combined 80 years of experience to Unity Care, and specifically in the foster care space. I'd like to give you, Peggy, since you're our star this morning, the opportunity to introduce yourself, and just really simply, can you share your name, which we know is Peggy Beck, and if you're here or representing an organization, and then finally, why are you here this morning?
Good morning. Yeah, Peggy and my husband John and I were introduced to Unity Care through Andre. Hey, Andre, nice to see you. We have good friends of the Chernises and the Agers, so he knows both of those people, all those people. And they invited us to participate, and so we've been supporting Unity Care now for a year and a half. I don't remember exactly, and saw the update notice come out and thought, oh, well, I think I can spare a little time this morning, so let me hop on and hear what's going on. So yeah, we live in San Jose. We've been married for 32 years, have 2 adult children. One of them's getting married this coming spring, so we're excited about that. So that's kind of what's going on in our life.
Well, congratulations on the wedding. That's exciting. So we're going to ask Peggy, you so far are our only person here. So I had originally asked that questions be held to the end, but if you have a question as we go along, please ask. There will be plenty of time for questions at the end. Okay. So for 31 years, Unity Care has made a tremendous impact across Northern California, as you probably know from your introduction to us a year and a half ago. Last year, we served 350 youth across 8 counties in the state of California. We have a housing continuum that includes supportive housing for youth, education, employment, and well-being services. We also launched a sister organization, Fostering Promise, to lead policy work that one day will eliminate the possibility of any young person being left or aging out of foster care and being left homeless. And I like to say it's fostering care's promise to put us out of business, because we will no longer be necessary, as there will be systems in place to support these young people who currently have no place else to go. Over the past 24 months, so around a little before you joined us as a supporter, Peggy, we followed through on a bold strategic plan, which Larry will talk about in more detail. The history of our strategic plan. We've navigated some significant organizational changes and leadership transitions. So it's been both a tremendous opportunity and possible confusion for our supporters who have gone through that period of change with us. Our objectives today for you are to update you on Unity Care's leadership and direction, to introduce you to Fostering Promise, a Unity Care affiliate, to solicit your insights and feedback as our trusted advisors and supporters. Here's the agenda for the next 30 minutes or so. And let's get going I'm going to turn it over to Larry Woodland, as I indicated, our interim CEO, who has just done a fabulous job of leading us for the last, 9 months, I think, 9 months, into stability and finding our new CEO, which you'll hear more about as well.
Thank you, Beth. And good morning, everybody. Very nice to meet you. I'm Larry Woodland. I am the interim CEO at Unity Care, and I've been here since November of 2023. I'm a social worker with about 25 years of experience in this space, so I'm grateful to be able to support Unity Care during this time and during this transition. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of affairs around homelessness for youth, about what Unity Care has been done, what we've accomplished, and where we see ourselves going moving forward. So in 2023, the annual housing assessment to Congress was released, and the 3 cities with the highest number of homeless transitional age youth were Oakland, San Francisco, and San Jose. I'm gonna say that again. Oakland, San Francisco, and San Jose, which are 3 cities in which we work. Looking at the slide on the screen, here are some of the data about the impact of those numbers. 75% of young people living on the street were once in foster care or juvenile justice. Black and Latinx youth are 3 times more likely to be in foster care than their white peers, with a high school dropout rate of 59%, with less than 3% of these youth earning a 4-year college degree. And 25% of foster youth will be in prison within 2 years of leaving the foster care system. So that gives us the context of the impact of homelessness for young people. So knowing the challenges ahead, in 2020-2021, Unity Care collaborated with Stanford's School of Business ACT program to develop a 5-year strategic plan. We are in year 3 of execution, and here are some of the objectives of that plan. We're going to hone and optimize our approach to housing, mental health, care connections, and life skills. Define and maintain a disciplined program portfolio strategy. Acquire, engage, and retain great talent. Continuously improve delivery and consistency across all of our regions, and invest in building relationships and revenue. So, what have we done so far? What are our progress? So, in 2023-2024, we expanded into Monterey with a current occupancy of 95%. We launched a universal basic income initiative with the city of San Jose, serving 51 homeless youth with monthly stipends, one-on-one coaching, financial literacy, and independent living skills. And after a lengthy renovation, we reopened Cayuga Place Apartments, which is a 10-unit housing complex in San Francisco. Where do we go from here? So for 24-25, our goals are to expand our mental health program to increase our capacity to provide in-house mental health services to our young people. Strengthen community partnerships in every county to ensure that we have the support that we need to support our youth, and hiring a permanent CEO and expanding our board. And Beth will talk more about the CEO search later on in this presentation. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Beth.
It always helps to turn your volume on when you're going to talk. Thank you, Larry. That's a terrific synopsis of what's going on. Many of you, Peggy, Peggy, you may be wondering, why the transition, why we have an interim CEO. And this was very important to us to share with our community supporters what's going on, because I'm sure that there are questions. And you may remember that back in 2022, Andre transitioned out of the CEO role that he held so brilliantly for 28 years. And we hired a new CEO to take his place. As unfortunately as sometimes happens, that person wanted to take UnityCare in a direction that conflicted with our strategic plan and the board's vision for organization. I know that Larry talked a little bit about the strategic plan, and I encourage you to look at it. It's something that I found to be, as a lawyer, as a linear thinker, as somebody who has a trouble sometimes thinking outside the box, because I think in a straight line. It was an amazing experience to go through it and to see the final product and the vision for UnityCare, which we did this 3 years ago. And it has been instrumental in guiding where we go and guiding major decisions, including to part ways with our prior CEO. We needed a leader who could help us realign to that strategic plan, and we were so lucky to be introduced to Larry Woodland. With Larry in place in the fall of 2023, we brought back a few of UnityCare's most senior leaders to support the board's vision for success in alignment with that strategic plan. Welcome back, Sanders. He's been here for a year, but it's still nice to welcome back again and again. With all those things in place, the work has begun to find our next CEO. And we're doing a local search, and I'm pleased to share that the search launched 3 weeks ago, and we already have 3 candidates that we're actually interviewing this week. So we are moving along quite quickly and are thrilled. We put a lot of work into the job description and who we were looking for to fill this position. Now I'm thrilled, as always, to pass the baton to Andre, our founder of UnityCare and the man who now spearheads Fostering Promises, who we all hope and pray one day puts UnityCare out of business.
Well, thanks, Beth. And hey, Peggy, it's great to see you. I think the last time I saw you was, I think when I just got back from my sabbatical, I came over and had lunch with you and John. So great to see you. Right. Chris, you want to go to the next slide? So Peggy, I'm going to probably pick up on the conversation that we had when I last saw you guys about where I was at in launching this policy organization that kind of started the seeds of this were planted back in 2017 and 18. And so what you see on the screen is really the road to where, the vision of this began. And then when we finally did our launch, but, back in 2017, there was a national effort by the Knight Foundation to bring people around the kitchen table to talk about, just issues in their own backyard. And it was called On the Table. And when it came to Silicon Valley, it was led by the Community Foundation. And at that time, they brought together probably about 7,000 people to talk about issues. And here, of course, the biggest issue was housing. And so there was efforts led by, the senior community, people with disabilities, by providers. And so at that time, UnityCare's Youth Advisory Council led the effort to bring folks together to talk about the impact of young folks aging out of foster care. And so that effort went on for 2 years. And then when the Silicon Valley Community Foundation completed that process, they then launched their effort called On the Table, and they came out with this huge report. And in that report, there were 13 recommendations specifically for young folks aging out of foster care. And unfortunately, in 2020, when they began that effort, we know what happened. The pandemic hit. And so at that point, that effort basically priorities changed, and all that body of work sat on their website. And so when I had come back, when I had just had lunch with you guys, I had just began a partnership with UC Berkeley. I reached out to them and said, we have this body of work led by young folks, the voices of young folks saying, here are the things that we think we need in order to ensure we don't end up homeless upon aging out of foster care. So UC Berkeley was ecstatic about the project. They assigned me a master's level second year young lady named Emma Barash, who was, used this as part of her thesis. And so for the next 6-7 months, she met with policymakers. We reconvened folks, young people, foundations, housing developers, county leaders, state leaders. And then in May of 2023, she basically sat for her thesis. She graduated and then handed me this document and said, get to work. And it took those 13 recommendations and then determined the top 4 that would end homelessness for young folks that age out of foster care. So between May of last year until December of last year, I then worked on taking that thesis, that academic document, and turning it to a public facing document. And then Netflix hosted our launch back on December 8th. And that was the launch of Fostering Promise, which is its own independent organization, its own 501c3. We have our own board of directors. It's an affiliate to Unity Care. And our goal is to end homelessness before young folks leave foster care. So go to the next slide, Chris. So we're not trying to solve the homeless crisis. We're trying to stop young folks from leaving foster care that end up homeless. So these are the 4 priorities. One is creating a housing readiness plan, and I'm going to try to simplify this. This is really about starting at 16. When we think about our kids, and congratulations on the marriage that's coming up, but when we think about our kids and preparing them for their future, we typically start as a freshman or a sophomore saying, okay, what do you want to go to college? And, do you want to go to a rural college? You want to go to liberal arts? You want to be in a big city, a small city? So that gives the young people a vision starting at, our own kids as a sophomore in high school. They start doing college tours. So by the time they turn 18 and graduate high school, we know that they're in college, and guess what comes with college? Housing. Well, you saw the data earlier. Most, the majority of young folks who leave foster care do not go to a 4-year college. So we're flipping that around and saying, start that same thing at 16 that we do for our own young folks, but start it with housing for young folks in foster care. And so I'm going to give you kind of the Reader's Digest of each one of these policy areas. So this is about creating a mobile application that allows young folks to be able to find housing, like what housing is in their own community, starting at 16, so they have at least 5 housing options when they age out. Number 2 is about producing more and better housing, and that's really about making sure that we have enough housing for this population. And one of the things that we're very focused on is the data. It's less than 1,000 kids in the Bay Area that age out every year. So think about that. In the Bay Area, less than 1,000 kids. We should be able to find at least 1,000 places for young folks to live. Apartment units, carve-outs with developers. And so we're very focused on that because, again, we're trying to stop them from aging out to homelessness. And then the third one is making sure that young folks have a mentor up until at least age 30. Because here's what we know. I think the data shows that, more than I think it's like 42% of young people between, ages of 18 to 31 still live at home in the Bay Area. So we know our young adults are still living at home. So imagine a young person aging on foster care at 18 or 20, and then everyone disappears. And so we're working with the Bay Area CASAs to develop a CASA emerging adult-friendly program that allows, CASA to build supports for young folks that stay into at least age 30. So they have someone to call on a Sunday to come wash their clothes at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or, they have someone that's going to help them find a job. It's all about the networks and supports. And so that's the third one. Then the fourth one is really about working with the adult system, trying to get the adult system to understand how to work with the child serving system and leverage what we're calling the housing vouchers that are in place for adults. And really getting the system to be much more efficient in getting the housing vouchers in the hands of young folks. So that's what I'm doing. So Chris, we go to the next slide. So that's what I'm doing. And so what I just gave you really was the details of what this is on the screen. These are all what I say, I gave you the Reader Digest version of it, but these are all of the 4 policy priorities that we're focused on. And because we are, this is a Bay Area effort. We're going to be launching a pilot within the next 2 years. We know we can solve it here. Just as Larry said, San Jose has the highest homeless population of 18 to 24 in the nation. We know this is the most expensive place to live. but we also know we have the greatest resources right here in our backyard. And so we know if we can solve it here and in the Bay Area, then we can scale this across California and across the nation. And so our goal is to implement all of these 4 areas here and then launch a pilot to do a proof of concept so that we can ensure that we can ensure young folks don't leave and age out of foster care. So I am building, the work. I've hired a director of policy. I've hired a grant writer. Unity Care is providing some administrative behind the curtain support for Fostering Promise. But just as Beth said, we're 2 independent organizations today. And Unity Care is participating in some of our policy work groups, but just as other community-based organizations are, because this is a Bay Area effort to make sure that no young person in the Bay Area leaves foster care and ends up on the streets. So that's what I'm working on. It's hard work because this is changing a system that hasn't been able to change for years. And we're in this place because we know this is possible. And I believe we can end homelessness by ensuring no young person ages out of foster care to the streets. So that's what I'm doing today, Peg.